Here's why Daemon's betrayal at Harrenhal changed the entire dance of the dragons. Imagine a castle shrouded in mist, the black Harrenhal looming like a dark sentinel over the god's eye. Dragons circle overhead, lords and ladies gather in tense anticipation, and the fate of Westeros hangs on every whispered word. In the middle of this storm of politics, ambition, and blood, a single act of betrayal shattered alliances, altered strategies, and shifted the trajectory of an entire civil war. That act was Daemon Targaryen's betrayal at Harrenhal, and its consequences would reverberate across the dance of the dragons in ways few could have predicted. Daemon Targaryen was never a man content with the ordinary. Bold, cunning, and supremely confident in both sword and strategy, he carried the fire of the dragon not only in blood but in ambition. Known for his skill in battle, his mastery of politics, and his tendency to act decisively, sometimes recklessly, Daemon was both a blessing and a challenge to those who sought to align with him. But at Harrenhal, the very qualities that made him formidable became a source of catastrophic upheaval. To understand the betrayal, we must first understand the context. The Dance of the Dragons was a civil war unlike any Westeros had ever seen. It was a battle for succession, legitimacy, and survival, with rival factions led by Rhaenyra Targaryen and her half-brother Aegon II Targaryen. The Targaryens, once united by blood and dragons, were now fractured by ambition, fear, and mistrust. Every decision mattered, every alliance was fragile, and every betrayal carried consequences far beyond the personal. Harrenhal was chosen as a meeting point, a council convened to consolidate Rhaenyra's supporters, to strategize, and to prepare for the inevitable confrontations with the Greens. It was a place where lords and dragonlords could coordinate their plans, assert influence, and demonstrate loyalty. And yet, it was here that Daemon Targaryen's actions would create a ripple effect that changed everything. Daemon had pledged himself to Rhaenyra, ostensibly as her champion, advisor, and ally. They shared a complex bond, both familial and personal, and together they sought to navigate the treacherous waters of Westerosi politics. Yet at Harrenhal, Daemon made a choice that undermined the cohesion of the faction. His betrayal was not a simple lapse in judgment. It was a calculated move that reflected his own ambitions, his desire for influence, and his willingness to disrupt in order to assert control. But why did Daemon betray those he was meant to support? The answer lies in the tension between loyalty and ambition. Daemon's loyalty was contingent upon shared vision and respect for his council. When he perceived that Rhaenyra's decisions or strategies conflicted with his understanding of power, he acted decisively. In the volatile political climate of the Dance of the Dragons, such acts could, and did, change the course of events. Harrenhal was more than a council. It was a chessboard where one bold move could topple kings, ruin alliances, and reshape the war. The immediate consequences of Daemon's betrayal were dramatic. Lords and allies who had relied on coordinated strategies suddenly found themselves in disarray. Commands were questioned, trust eroded, and the appearance of unity fractured. In Westeros, perception is as critical as strength, and the visible discord created by Daemon's actions emboldened the Greens while sowing seeds of doubt within Rhaenyra's faction. It was a tactical earthquake, shaking the foundations of her claim before key battles had even begun. Daemon's motivations were as complex as the man himself. He was not simply acting out of spite or ego. He recognized the volatility of the situation, the precariousness of alliances, and the need to assert influence. By acting independently, he demonstrated power, tested loyalty, and recalibrated the strategies of both friends and foes. Betrayal, in his mind, was a tool, a means of reshaping the battlefield in a war defined as much by perception and politics as by swords and dragons. Emotionally, the betrayal was devastating for Rhaenyra's camp. To have a trusted ally act contrary to expectation, especially someone as formidable as Daemon, introduced uncertainty, anger, and disillusionment. Trust is a currency in civil war, and Daemon's decision devalued it. The psychological effect on commanders, soldiers, and allies cannot be overstated. In moments of crisis, the reliability of your closest advisors can determine victory or defeat, and at Harrenhal, Daemon's betrayal cast doubt over the very integrity of the faction. To fully understand the strategic implications, consider the layout of the council and the planned military coordination. Harrenhal was to serve as a hub for Rhaenyra's supporters, a point of convergence for forces, resources, and information. Daemon's unexpected actions disrupted communication lines, created gaps in defense planning, and forced commanders to react to contingencies they had not prepared for. This disruption not only delayed operations but created openings for the Greens to exploit, fundamentally altering the balance of power. Historically, this moment at Harrenhal is cited as a turning point in the Dance of the Dragons. Prior to this betrayal, Rhaenyra's faction had relative cohesion, bolstered by loyalists like Corlys Velaryon and other seasoned lords. Daemon's intervention fractured that unity, leading to missteps in key battles, hesitation among commanders, and a heightened risk of internal dissent. The civil war was not simply a matter of fire versus fire, it was a struggle for cohesion, trust, and coordinated action. By undermining the unity of the faction, Daemon reshaped the trajectory of the conflict. Let's explore the psychological dimension further. Daemon's actions were motivated not only by ambition but by a perception of threat and opportunity. He was a man who valued strength, decisiveness, and dominance, and he perceived any hesitation or lack of assertiveness as a weakness. By betraying expectations at Harrenhal, he asserted his own vision for how the war should be conducted, signaling to both allies and enemies that he was a force to be reckoned with, unpredictable, bold, and uncompromising. The public nature of the council intensified the betrayal. Every lord, every knight, and every dragon rider present witnessed the fracture in Rhaenyra's faction. In Westeros, public perception is as vital as military might. To be undermined in front of one's peers is to suffer both strategic and reputational damage. Daemon's betrayal at Harrenhal therefore carried not just tactical implications but a symbolic weight, demonstrating that even the closest allies were capable of disruption if they perceived opportunity or necessity. Strategically, the consequences extended beyond the council itself. The disruption caused by Daemon's betrayal forced Rhaenyra's faction to reassess priorities, redistribute forces, and reconsider the reliability of key allies. Resources were diverted to compensate for the instability, battles were fought under increased uncertainty, and morale among troops and commanders was shaken. In warfare, uncertainty is a formidable adversary, and Daemon's actions introduced it at the heart of Rhaenyra's planning. Moreover, the betrayal highlighted the fragility of alliances in Westeros. Loyalty is never absolute, it is contingent upon shared interests, respect, and perceived benefit. Daemon's willingness to act independently underscores the tension between personal ambition and collective responsibility, a tension that would define the course of the Dance of the Dragons. By prioritizing his own strategic vision, he demonstrated that even familial bonds could be subordinated to personal calculation. Emotionally, the betrayal left deep scars. Rhaenyra, already facing the immense pressures of civil war, had to contend not only with external enemies but with internal fractures within her own faction. The psychological toll on leaders, advisors, and soldiers cannot be underestimated. Trust, once broken, requires extraordinary effort to repair. Daemon's actions forced her to navigate not only